everything is, what's the term? Everything is different, but nothing has changed. Something like that. But to put it mildly, golly, like, what was it? This time a year ago, give or take a little bit, I made a certain call, per se. I started mentioning in these car talks, if you want to go back a year ago and look into those videos, about taking, some next steps just for my bodybuilding journey and venture and stuff. I wanted to, really see what I was made of. I really wanted to do the cool things and stuff. And, I'm like, you know what, we're going to do it. And to put it mildly, a year later, finally did it. And yeah, so that's fun. That's pretty cool. I mean, it took us a bit, but we got there. And I think, all things considered, for big steps in life in any regard, I think it's good when things don't pan out and you're given more time to consider and think and just like really make sure that what you think you want is what you actually want. Because, especially the choice I made, it's a big one. It was a very big one. And one that, like, there were moments where I was really doubting doing it, possibly. Because, like, who am I? Like, that was the big thing on my mind, Who am I? 2, 4, 6, that was my Hugh Jackman impression. That was not a good one. Loaf of bread. Okay, anyway. But that fun stuff aside, jeez, that was so silly and so stupid. But yeah, a lot of consideration has gone into the decision that I made, and now it's like I can. I was also a year ago. I made a video called like "The Road to Pro Begins," which is my most popular YouTube video. Nearly I think 1,500 views, which for YouTube, pretty big deal, mind you. The only real interactions I got were people being like, "You Sam Sulek copycat," which is like a duh. What else am I supposed to do? I know the whole like. It's so convenient because like, what else are you going to be doing when you're driving in a car? Like, it just makes so much sense to talk to the camera because like, one, it's therapeutic. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend doing it. Maybe just not even like a camera, but like a little voice memo. Talk to yourself. Be your own little therapist. Like it is a wonderful time. It has honestly done a lot for my mental health, which has been great. So, yeah, don't diss on it until you try it. But moral of the story, yeah, Road to Pro, now that actually starts because now it's actually a little bit more feasible. And, I'm feeling good about myself. I kind of stumbled upon, for some reason, I was on Instagram, and I just see guys who, had their pro cards, similar height to me and all that stuff. And I'm feeling good. Like, I really do think with my shape and structure, now mind you, my frame, I don't have the largest of frames. I'm a smaller, like I'm 5'6". I don't know any of my what my bust or like leg size and stuff and things are off the top of my head. But it will be good. I'm at least good enough to get a pro card, and then try out the pro circuit, see that whole life and things. Because I don't know, I've gone through so many transformations of like, why do I want it? I want to be great. I want to blah, 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 blah. Do you want to know why it is? I just want to. Like, and I feel like that's not a good reason for a lot of people nowadays. Like, you need to have some kind of greater purpose of doing something, or else, like, what's the point, For me, this stuff is just fun. This stuff is just sincerely super enjoyable. And I look forward to, enjoying it. Simple enough. Like, trying new things, doing these new stuff. And I don't know. There's something about I've always been a don't risk it kind of guy a lot of my life. And to take a step that's going to be we're risking it a little bit more. And, it's going to be great. It's going to be, it is just going to be fun. It's a new journey. It's one that is of my choice. And I got to be completely honest, taking this next step, I feel so much more relief. I think a lot of people have the perception it's once you do that thing, now you got to compare yourself to the guys at the Mr. Olympia. Now you got to compare yourself to guys who have been doing this for 10 plus years. And it's no. No. Matter of fact, I felt more pressure when I was doing the whole natural thing even. I felt more because it's there's a ceiling. And there's only like, I feel like when you are a natural bodybuilder, natural kind of, physique artist, if you would, there's like, there's more pressure, and there's not as much leeway to really be, someone in a sense, like, because like, as freaky as guys and as big as guys can get whilst being natural, it is just simply like, it's not exactly, you don't see any open natural bodybuilders like being like these very prominent, guys in pop culture, or in just the bodybuilding zeitgeist. Like, there's like, you have to, it's like aesthetics and just being good at competitions. And it's just one of those things where, I don't know, I just felt more pressure because it felt, I don't know, being on that same playing field where all you could do was eat, train, sleep, and like, try to get better and repeat. Like, it just, there are limited things that you can do to really make things better. Now, mind you, doing this next thing and stuff, like, now there's just more. There's more stuff that can be tapped into. There's more, like, there's just more, and it makes it more, it's like a DLC. It's pretty much a DLC, because now it's like, now we got this little upgrade that we couldn't find on the main, in the main campaign, but on the side quest kind of deal. Like, now we can, do this awesome thing that we couldn't do otherwise. And I find that to be just, like, fun. And it's just cool. And there are definitely going to be people out there who, who kind of, hear about this stuff and go like, oh my gosh, Trenton, you're an idiot. And possibly, but I don't know. I have a hope and I have a dream, because I feel like a lot of guys, once they take, nosedive into this whole abyss and stuff, what ends up going down is simply enough, they just kind of become like an absolute dunce. Guys all of a sudden are like, well, blah, 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 this and this and blah, 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 and just they sound like Neanderthals, and like they just kind of become idiots. And the dream of mine, the goal of mine, is to kind of have what I would call more of like, the Mike Menzer, Frank Zane touch to this, where it's like, yes, I want to be an Olympian, yes, I want to be incredibly competitive with what I do, but I want to be seen as like someone who's not just a bodybuilder, Because I feel like when you think of, Frank Zane, the chemist, the man who sculpted the perfect body, Mike Menzer, the scientist, the bodybuilder with a phenomenal mind, and then C-Bum, a great example, the bodybuilder with a phenomenal heart. Like, you have these wonderful, like, three, I think, pillars of what, like, a great man is. And I wanna be all three. I wanna have the great mind. I wanna have, the eye of a sculptor and the mind of a sculptor. And then I also just want, the heart of, I don't know, whatever, C-Bum is. I don't know. It's exhilarating because I don't know. It's a step closer to where I do want to be. And I'm excited for the sake that I do know I'm going to end up somewhere good. Because there's this whole, I love this idea that when you're on the right path, you'll feel good. Because, oh shucks, what was his name? Epicurus? I think possibly he might be the wrong philosopher, I don't know, but someone from the classical Greek era of philosophy, the idea that the point of life is to simply, feel enjoyment. Now, a lot of people, they heard him saying that and go like, you're a heathen, you scoundrel, you just want to bone and do other things and drink, and it's kind of silly to me, because it is not what, I'm pretty sure it's Epicurus. He did not mean it that way. I am pretty damn sure, because one, he didn't, if he believed as such, he would have lived that lifestyle. There's one thing about classical Greek philosophers that you got to know, is that when they believed something, they were going to live it and preach it and stuff, because that's just kind of how they rolled. And I respect that, if you're going to say something, freaking, act upon it as well. So good on them. But then, along with that, more of a sense of just try to feel good and, in a good way. Because I feel also nowadays, maybe a lot of people delve into philosophy, and here's me getting into the whole good mind aspect of this thing. Like, I feel like they just take a lot of surface level kind of notes on a lot of these famous philosophers, because like, as funny and as, it's like, I want to think deeper. They don't. They really don't. Because thinking deeper is hard. But yeah, I know it's like not about hedonism. Heathen. Is there a difference? I don't know. But the big thing there is just like, when you are feeling good, life is good and worth living. Because if you lived a life of chronic torment and like anguish, would you want to live that life? Would it then be a life worth living? Because that's the big question there, Because it's so, are we going to make it? It might turn red on me. Oh, we made it. Awesome. Got a little sketchy there. But, yeah. Golly. Yep, so just live a life and enjoy the simple pleasures, I think is what he said, more or less. And what I really also found awesome, what I find awesome about, once again, pretty sure it's Epicurus. I could be wrong. Because I looked into him because of a death and dying class I'm taking, for college right now. And it was awesome. Like, looking into his thought of death is like, death should not be focused upon within life. Because they're two, like, distinctly different kind of aspects. And I like to expand on this, and I like thinking of it like this. Like, the idea of death being something. Like, you look throughout the history of the world, a lot of people are like, hey, when you die, you go somewhere. Something happens, man, I promise. Oh, if you're in ancient Egypt, we're going to wrap you up, we're going to take your organs, put them into little jars, and hopefully you don't get sent to oblivion. That would be awesome if that happened. Or, you have the basic, Christian thing where it's like, hey, they're gonna see how you're doing, and maybe you might burn in hell, maybe you might go to heaven, or we just purgatory, one or the other. Like, I don't even know where this accent's coming from, but silly voices are fun, I'll say that much. But like, it's just so fascinating because we're always trying to like make sense of literally nothing. Because death is such a fun concept, because it is both the epitome of it's not that deep, bro, and it's also incredibly that deep, bro. Because I like to view death like we at its kind of most bare bones, if you strip away, religion, theologies and afterlives, things of that nature, and you just look at purely what it is, a lot of people just view it as darkness. They view it as, nothingness. But our interpretation of nothingness, it cannot be understood. Because the problem with nothingness is no one has ever experienced nothingness. Like, we physically cannot do that, because like we hear that, because philosophy, the coolest part about modern philosophy and the ideas of the modern day is that like we can add some science into this as well. And the science of like, someone dying. You can't feel stuff, and things gotta go haywire. Like, the only experiences people have as they like are passing or like about to die is like all these different hallucinations, feelings, they hear voices. That is just like the brain losing oxygen or other things happening within the body. Like, that's still us feeling, and that's still us like, existing to an extent. Death is, you get none of that. It is complete, like, removal from existence as it is. It's like kind of like a wormhole in a way. It's like you go to a place that isn't here. It might not even be that, because the thing is, like, do you really even go anywhere? But the point being, we cannot quantify nothingness as just darkness, because darkness is the absence of light, but in that same thing, the absence of light is still something. Okay, you can describe it. Nothingness cannot be described because we do not know what it is like. I think the closest thing we have to something like this without dying would be like kind of those sense deprivation chambers, I think, like that. And we're just kind of floating in a pool of water, and like there's no sound, no light, no smells, none of that. And it is like, it's very disorienting for a lot of people, just because like it's pretty dang close to nothing while still being able to be alive. But like that, even then, that could be incredibly far off from what nothingness actually is. And I just think that's a really interesting concept, you know? But that aside, let's actually talk about something bodybuilding oriented. Let's talk about shows, competition. Okay, look, to be frank, I need to stop talking about like, here's what I'm going to compete, here's the schedule, here's the plan, because every time I do, something comes up or I have a change of heart and it goes out the flipping window. Competing. Okay, look, 2026, not happening. Not a freaking chance. 2027, though, that's more likely. Early 27, though, like I said in one of my videos not too terribly long ago, though, that probably will not be on the books. That's probably not what is going to be the case, what is going to happen. Mainly for the sake, I need to get gas. I just kind of looked down and saw my gauge. Whoops, I meant to fill up a while back, but there's a cheapish station coming up, so we'll take what we can get. But the thing there then is like, we'll see what happens. I mean, like, I think what I really want to do now is like, I don't know, maybe just have it be more, I kind of want to move my content to be more personality based, because to be completely honest, like until I really become something great in a lifting sense, you know, win a show or do something like that, like what I say, it really doesn't mean much of anything, you know? It's like, it's cool, and some people might be able to take away some stuff from it, and that's awesome, and I want that to be the case. Like, you know, I want to be seen as someone who is smart and dandy, but I just don't quite know exactly how to, you know, feel about that in totality. Oh golly, little bumpy thing right there. So we'll see what happens. Like, you know, physique update's probably still gonna drop. I don't know. Like, I'm excited for how I look. You know, obviously the goal is still to be competing in classic of all things, just because like given weight caps and stuff, I would like to do that. I really don't want to be too terribly large, you know, because I love the Lee Labrada mentality, especially now that I'm on stuff like, you know, mass with class. And yeah, I just want to keep it relatively, you know, chill and nice with what it is that I will actively be doing. And yeah, we're just gonna live and learn and kind of go about and see what happens. And also, I just don't want to, like, you know, whoa. Diet cream soda, Fago. Being in Michigan, wonderful little thing. Love the soda brand. But yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, I don't want to get too terribly large, because health and longevity is something that's still very much on my mind. And it just, you know, I like that I can see guys like, you know, Lee Haney, Lee Labrada, these, you know, guys from the 80s who didn't really know what they're doing, like, do good stuff, and they're living into their 70s, getting into their 80s. And yeah, just kind of be careful with it. And, you know, I know some people, it's like, oh, you want to talk about longevity? Look at Arnold. He had to have so many heart surgeries and blah, blah, blah. The man also was chronically on cigars, cocaine. I think he had some cocaine for a second as well. And he was just, I mean, he was living the movie star life. I don't plan on doing any of that. Even as a 21-year-old, my goal right now is like, I don't want to drink. Again, I'm going to, you know, take an oath of sobriety. And I'll see y'all back on Unster Road. Alrighty, on the road again. Trying to be slick with how I'm going about getting from point A to point B. That gas station that I was just at, it is nice, you know, it's a nice location for the sake that, you know, obviously it was convenient for me to fill up where I filled up. But in the same vein, it's depending on traffic, it's really kind of a pain to, like, get out of there. Just because, you know, you pull onto a more main road that has, you know, there's a stoplight, and on occasion it's like red, so, you know, people kind of stop, so you don't have to worry about much. But pretty much going, it's like, you know, east-west bound kind of deal. It's usually always green, because that's where a lot of people are coming from. But yeah, it is what it is, and now we're going. Yeah. So yeah, kind of to sum that whole competitive thing up, the goal. Oh, actually, I have not talked about this one yet. But the goal is by 2028, within that year, or at least a little bit after that year, possibly in 29, to get that dang pro car. to get that dang pro card. Good golly. But I hope, and I have a good feeling that it's doable. It was really nice. Not too terribly long. Actually, only last year. Last year, this time, like, was very transcendent kind of time for me. Like, you know, a couple months, you know, down the line will be like the year from when I first like prepped the guy for stage. Like I started chatting with this NPC judge who was like, dude, like, you know, 5 years of training, I could see you even naturally getting a pro card. And along with that, just going to the Detroit Pro, meeting those pro bodybuilders, like, if you want to talk about a moment that like really kind of changed everything for me, it was that moment. And I could have had, you know, another one per se. I had a really viral video happen on Instagram. But, you know, I just went viral for like the wrong reasons. I came across as arrogant and cocky. I was just being like, hey, commercial gyms, whenever I go into them now, I'm reliably one of the largest guys. Heyo. Which, I probably should have specified more in a muscularity sense, because when you're just 5'6" in general, you're gonna show up to places and you're gonna be a shorter guy regardless. Like, I went to a cheer meet for my mom the other day, which, by the way, you want to talk about freaking success running in the family? I think this is her like second in a row, but her third total regional title for her competitive cheer team that she coaches. Like, the one thing, like, my mom, I have mixed feelings, you know, parents and stuff, especially parents who are coaches and teachers who like expect a lot and, you know, kind of always push for that, and it may not translate well to a young mind, and it's caused me a fair bit of anxiety about a lot of stuff. But, you know, we're working on slowly fixing that, because it's caused a lot of different outbursts and such from myself in regards to different people. Not like I wouldn't say anything like terribly bad, but I just kind of do stuff without thinking too much, just for the wrong reasons. But that aside, with my mom, like, she built the cheer program that's currently, like, you know, winning, you know, regionals, which, if you don't know competitive cheer in Michigan, pretty awesome sport to keep in touch with. It's not like, it's fun for the sake that it's like, you know, you watch, you know, athletes, like, you know, throw these awesome flips and just do some really cool stuff. But yeah, and what ends up going down is, you know, she does a really good job at getting her athletes to then throw those flips and stuff. And yeah, I mean, she started it all like when she was pregnant with me, actually. So I mean, she's been running that program for approaching 22 years. Whew, that is wow. But it's inspirational to me. I got to be completely honest, for the sake that's like, she stuck around and built something so great. And admittedly, me, my dad, both my brothers, whenever she's coming home on the phone talking, it's like, well, this competition, blah, 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 this athlete, blah, 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 and like kind of, you know, really bringing work home with her. And for a while, I used to be like, oh my gosh, this guy stinks. Ugh. But like, if you spend 21 years of your life building a program, building an entire sport, like at a school by yourself, and like, you know, it's your baby, you put in so much work to get it to a point where it is reliably, like, you know, winning these large competitions, like, yeah, why wouldn't you want to be like talking about it all the time? And I think inadvertently, it's something that is really kind of, it's interesting to see, because like, I want something like that in some way or another. I want to look back at this point, like, you know, 20 years down the line and be like, that thing I started and I kept to, gosh darn it, I'm so freaking happy I did. Because that will be wonderful. And I've been reading this book, what is it? Oh golly, it's actually, is it in my back seat right now? Dedication. Yeah, Dedicated by Pete Davis. Actually, I have it sitting in my back seat right now. And it talks of, you know, people who hunker down and focus on a certain task and really lay into it and like get it done, and how, like, you know, that's where a meaning and purpose it comes from, in a sense. Because like, if you are chronically going from thing to thing, what do you truly have? if nothing ever like really gets done or set in stone, it will be worn away by the winds of time. And I as I've gotten a little older, as I've matured, the amount of like frontal lobe, frontal cortex, whatever the mature part of the brain is, that developing since ages of like, I would say not 19, didn't really, so we'll say 20, or was it 20? No, 19, yeah, it really started hitting me at 19. 19 to now, which I'm 21, going to be 22, in like June, currently February, no, currently March actually. It's the first of the month, as they say, but that aside, like, it's been crazy. The growth in the amount that I've been able to kind of recontextualize what it is I want from the world. It's both been wonderful, but also incredibly painful, because I want to build something, and I want to have something grand and great, such as I've seen my mom build. But it just, the problem there is like, the problem then lies, it's like, it takes time. It takes time, and unfortunately, I grew up just right at the tail end of like the whole instant gratification thing, and unfortunately, I grew up in situations where instant gratification happened all the dang time for me, especially because like, I'm a personable person. When you're personable, especially in high school, like things tend to go pretty well. Because I mean, the more formative years, like before I really got into the real world, quote unquote, not really. When like I will never understand people like, oh, you're going off into the real world, and then it's like you go to live in a college dorm. It's no, that's definitely not the same. But those formative years before I kind of went out, like my idea, like it was wonderful. My senior year of high school, and I want to write a Substack article about this actually. The idea of like, those who, peaked in high school and love reliving and just love staying in that kind of high school mentality of things. Like, I completely get it. I used to really, hate on that. It's like, oh, it's so dumb, it's so stupid. No, it really isn't, especially when you consider we as humans are social creatures. And like for a lot of small town folks, they're gonna end up just staying in that small town, not really going off to college. Completely okay. Like, that's awesome. Like, help the community. The closest thing they truly have or like had as a community, a community that was handed them was like high school. Because like, unless you really like maintain those friendships out in the real world, like jobs, families, things like that, they're going to get in the way. And your community that it disintegrates a little bit over time and just kind of wears away. So this idea that people really love and enjoy and like want to relive, the years where, they just showed up to school, got to hang out with their friends, got into a little bit of trouble maybe, did the sports, did all the, stuff and things, like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I completely understand it. Personally, for me, I'm way happier as someone out in the real world, because, like, it's okay to reminisce, and I understand why. You really shouldn't, though. There's a problem when you look at the past for too long, because then you miss the present, and then next thing you know, the future is hitting you right in the face, and there are a lot of problems when that typically tends to happen. So that was a random, not even a random rant, but what was I trying to talk about? So something time, high school, but yeah, okay, anyway. So yeah, my time in high school before I went off, into college and stuff like that, lead part in the musical, cross country captain, drum major, like trumpet soloist for the jazz band, like I was doing all these cool things that I perceived to be like so cool and so awesome. And essentially, because of like the work I'd done prior to, they were kind of, lightly spoon-fed to me. And the big thing there is what made it so easy. Like, by that time I got to high school, I'd worked for the stuff. I'd kind of established myself as that music guy, as that cross-country runner who, like, really wanted to push and really be great, in a sense. Not, like, the fastest, but, like, I wanted to push my abilities and be the best runner I could be. I had community. That was the big thing right there, and that's why I guess I went on that longer rant about why I think, I understand why people reminisce about high school. Because when you have a community around you, when things go poorly, it is so much easier to pick yourself up, like from, your falls from grace, because I remember, like it was my sophomore year of high school, I just got a lead part my freshman year, actually, in the musical. It was High School Musical, ironically. I was Ryan Evans, the brother of Sharpay, if you recall that movie at all. And like it was awesome. Like I tried out for a role when I was in 8th grade. I didn't quite get it, whatever. But then I got it. I got a lead role, and I was bamboozled. I was flying high, because what do you mean I got a lead role in a musical? Like, I remember that feeling of seeing that casting chart, and I lost my mind. I was so excited. And then the next year happened, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, light work. It was Little Shop of Horrors, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, Seymour, glasses, a little scrawny and all that stuff. It's like, oh, I got this. My New Yorkian accent, not great. But, we made do. And, I go in, I audition. I've given you sunshine, I've given you rain, but you're only happy when I open a vein. I'll give you a few drops if that'll appease. Oh my gosh, it probably sounded terrible, but it's such a fun song. Little Shop, it's one of my favorite musicals. But at the time, I got like 3 side character roles. Like I felt a little bit, reduced, side characters, and I'm like, I was incredibly dramatic looking back on it. I'm like, how could they do this to me? No, how could they? Luckily, in that position where I felt really low for that kind of situation, I had friends around me. People being like, dude, blah, 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 not blah, 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 but like actual heartfelt words like, hey, you're great, you just didn't get this time. What ended up happening then is like, at the end of the musicals, the band's playing off and all that stuff, everyone gets backstage. We run over to where then guests will be leaving. And we'll be like, hey, thank you for coming. And this old man, I vividly remember, I don't know if I'll ever forget this moment, but pretty much he comes up to me and goes, son, they should have had you in a bigger role. You were great. I didn't know who this old man was. No idea. Not a single freaking clue. But the hope he instilled in me, gosh, even just thinking about it, like I get goosebumps, and I think about that. Like, he didn't have to do that. He didn't need to do that. But to go out of his own way and make it a point to go, son, you were great. That was wonderful. And it's something I really have always carried with me. Like, there are very few moments in my life that I look back, and especially now that, that time of my life is getting further and further away, there's fewer things that I do remember. That, I don't remember nearly as much as I used to. And that's just because, there's just a lot more going on now that I got to focus on. And, I'm not like, experiencing, dementia type of stuff, but like, it was just such a sweet and kind moment, and I needed it in that moment, and I appreciate that old man for giving me that little boost. But the thing there is now, especially for myself, whenever I try to achieve the great things, whenever I try to go for those lead roles in life, and I fail, there's no longer a community around me. That's not a thing that I have. And why, I've lightly ostracized myself from greater communities, because I've just decided, like, you know what, we're gonna do it Trenton's way. And that has just not gone great, We are meant to be social creatures, and I myself am a pretty reliably anxious human being. I get worked up and I worry, and things don't always pan out well, and when they don't, I get a little depressed and things of that nature. So yeah, when things have gone bad, it's been just me. I've hit some lows, some really low lows, but I'm doing better in that sense. I'm trying to actively build myself a community. Like, I got my buddy Max. You've seen him on the channel. one of my favorite dudes of all time. I'm kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier in this video. When I finally took the next step, first person I called was him, not even my girlfriend, but because for him, like, I had been training him, I had been giving him his, I was instructing him on his next steps and all that stuff, and I'm like, dude, I did it and stuff, and like, he, just because like he has been there with me in that regard. I've actually, I've known him longer than my girlfriend, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about. But then also my girlfriend, like, she's there with me and like for me as well. And then I'm rekindling some friendships. Like, there's this one guy who we were never too close in high school at all. But like, after high school, he was a year younger than I. We just started chatting more. We both like lifting, and like we just have very similar personalities at our cores, and we just we have found that things work, that things are okay, and like we have a lift that we're planning on doing because we head to the same community college right now too, so we're gonna make some time to go hang with him. Because a cool part. Not a cool part, but unfortunately this week, actually not this week, but next week. Not next week, but the week after. Golly me. Oh, wait, no, it's Sunday. Okay, so next week. Okay, that's what it is. But next week, my girlfriend is not going to be, I can't hang out with her, because usually I'm on top of this stuff. Every weekend that I possibly can, I hang out with her. Because it is something I've realized, and like, you cannot get time back. So one of the biggest and I think best pieces of advice I could ever give is like spend time with the people you love. Like, do that, because when I'm on my deathbed, the way I view it is like, what am I gonna think to myself? Like, man, I didn't, work those like, I'm so upset I didn't work those extra couple hours. Oh, I'm so upset I didn't go to the gym, 10 more times than what I could have. I'm going to think to myself, I wish I had more time with her. I wish I could have spent some more time hanging out with my buddies. And that shift in priorities, it's made me a lot healthier in like a mental sense, because now I'm more chronically around people. Because at its core, people need people. If you're a person without your people, then you are just a little bit more miserable than the rest of us. And as someone who was a little bit more miserable than the rest of us, I can vouch for it. So, it's nice. We're working up to it, slowly but surely. And then, like, I got some new buds that I've, met and I hang out with. I try to make it a point. I compliment people at the gym. I try to say, like, you're looking big dog, and like all that good stuff. And I need to do better, because another thing I've realized is it does not hurt to raise others up. There's a really competitive, hyper-individualistic kind of culture and nature within just, I think, America as a whole, especially in like, the gym-oriented communities, because that's just individualism for you. It's all about me. And when it's all about you, others cannot be above you because it's about me. And it cannot be about me if you are above me and taking the attention away from me. And the phrase, this world ain't big enough for the both of us. Oh my God. Yes, it is. There is so much room in this world for everybody to do what they want. It's just like we just don't want to see other people succeed is the big problem. And I've realized that, like, especially being in the fitness space. Are you kidding me? Like, this place is so oversaturated with so many amazing physiques. I was going to say amazing people, but a lot of us suck, because once again, you want to look at the hyper-individualized of the hyper-individualized? Oh my God. The me-isms of this lifting thing they're terrible. They're rampant. And I mean, that's just what it is. And it's unfortunate, because I've fallen victim to it so many times. But it's a we. It's an us. Like, oh my God, I had a guy reach out to me the other day, just kind of randomly DM me during my lift last night. And he was just saying, hey man, big fan of your content. And we just started chatting from there, and he's talking to me like, hey, yeah, no, I travel to Michigan at times. and stuff and things like blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, where? We should totally hit a lift. And well, or maybe I was saying I was based from Michigan, and he was like, oh, I would love to get a lift, but like I need more followers for it to be worth a collab. And it's like, brother, I have to lift. I have to lift anyway. Like a collab, buddy. It doesn't need to be a collab. I probably won't even bring a camera to be awesome. I probably won't even bring a camera to be honest, except for like a pose down, because in those moments where I'm like lifting with someone for the first time, I don't need to record. I don't need to record everything. I think a lot of people, they view like when you're on social media and you're like pretty reliably posting content, they view it as like you're always trying to like, once again, me. Or in this case, when you're watching someone else, they're thinking you. And I don't roll that way. Other people, it might be the case, and there might be a day where like, my time is, worth enough in a sense where like maybe I just can drop what I'm doing and like make plans with a random person on the internet for things. And when that day comes, that day, might come. But until it does, I want to try to be there for as many people as possible, because like, this world, this life, it's too short to focus on yourself. You know how depressed and miserable you're going to be if you only ever like look in a mirror? You won't see the world around you. You'll just see yourself. And as much beauty as can come from like the human person, you will observe more beauty and more awesomeness from the world from looking at the actual world itself. It's something we get lost in the sauce. This is honestly the most kind of like, it's a silly, but I think the most honest way I can really say it, because there's so much out there, and it can be overwhelming. But you don't need to take in everything at once, just a little bit at a time. I keep on going on these rants. I don't even know where I'm at right now. But yeah, building community. It's nice. And now, yeah, we're just kind of going through the motions. Classes have been going well. Life's going good. And I'm excited. The future is going to have a lot of cool things going on. The Detroit Pro is going to be happening in the next 2 weeks. I'm so stoked. I'm going to be there. It's going to be wonderful. And what's going to be really cool is I really hope to bump into people I know. And then I really hope to bump into people that I know as well. And maybe people that I know that don't really like me. Because I don't know if I've talked about this yet. But I don't know. I started a little bit of drama. Not even like for the sake of anything. I don't know. I had a bad feeling about a person. I decided to do the whole calling them out on the internet thing. And admittedly, I realized it just stemmed from a place of like I was talking about, wanting to be put on the pedestal, the me-isms of the world. And it does nothing for nobody for me to do stuff like that. Like, there's no good point. There's no good reason. Simple as that. So that's going to be what that is. And yeah, and also we're looking for like more clients to coach this year. Like, my goal as a competitive bodybuilding coach, like that side of me, is I need to bring more people to stage than I did the year prior. Until we hit a certain amount, like a certain number. Like, you can only do so much in a year. So I brought 2 guys to stage last year. We are going to try to bring 3 guys to stage this year, which I'm incredibly excited for, because like, that's going to be 5 guys on stage. That's more than a lot of people who label themselves as coach. And heck, my 2 that I have, that I've brought stage already, like, that's more than a lot of quote-unquote coaches can even say. So we are doing good things. We're building up the resume, and we're just having a fun time with it. I refuse to get all dark, dreary, and like all hardcore and grindy grind set. That's not me. I refuse to be or like portray someone who isn't me, like, moving forward. There's just no point. Like, if I'm going to succeed in this world, I'm going to succeed as Trenton Allen Lasky. Maybe not the Allen part. I'm not sure what that really has to do with much of anything. But at least as Trenton Lasky, I'll be doing some fun stuff and some fun things. And let's talk about the Olympia for a little bit, because like, that is one of those things where, do I expect to get there? No. Do I want to get there? Oh, heck yes I do. I think just like, I don't care like about where like on the Olympia stage I placed. I don't give a rat's. If I can just touch that stage and be like in the history books of like, Olympians, like, oh my God, I'm happy, because that means at one point in the world I was one of the best in the world at something. How many people can say that? Like, if I could, like, if I had all the money and resources I wanted, and like I didn't have to like work an actual job, I would spend my time trying to become like a world class like athlete, performer, or like everything at like the entry class, the entry point for something to be like world class. Like, I would do it just enough to be where I could be considered like a global elite of sorts within the thing I was doing, because like that's also what life is about, experiencing things. Like, once again, let's talk about the whole like nothingness. Like, nothingness is the absence of everything, so life inherently is then the presence of everything. So how should we go about living life? Well, in my opinion, if we want to go against the yin, that is death, we have to do the yang, which is then taking it all, feeling everything, like admiring what we have going on in front of us. Because like, if we don't, what's the point of this thing? Like, that's why I hate social media, and that's why I hate when I find myself scrolling. That's not real. That is not real. And it's wired into my brain to do all the For You page, Instagram Reels now. I can't have a single app with like a shorts thing on it, except for YouTube. YouTube and I, we go pretty well, just because, mainly, if you have not seen, look up the Iron Historian, some of the best bodybuilding documentaries, and that narrator he hires to do the voiceovers of stuff. Oh my gosh, wonderful guy. Like, I don't know exactly, I don't know what his accent is, but it's regal. Sounds really awesome. But just like, I want to get, I need to get out more. Like, I need to not doom scroll. I need to live life and experience life, because like, that's what we got. It's what I got. Oh, love man. Oh, is what I got. Oh, golly, I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to cut. I don't know. I've just been very jubilant today. So what you get is me being a little rowdy, a little freaking whatever this is. Also, side note, I got to do a leg day today, but because of things, my butt hurts, and I don't know. I'll put it this way. I recently had to go to the doctors and get a shot. And like, whenever it comes to lifting, I don't know. I just have this like, needles are not that big. It's actually the needle I got the other day. But I'm worried, like, if I train something, it's sore, and it's gonna like just bust out. Like, I imagine that where that needle went in, all of a sudden like my blood pressure is gonna go up. It's gonna go pew. When that's not how it works. Everything is healed up already. But like, I don't know. It's just like this weird internal fear. Like, my fear of needles, like, it's bad. Oh my gosh, especially when I got the shot the other day. I was gnawing on my hand, and oh god, it was kind of gross. But we did what we needed to do. And hopefully from here on out, like, it will get better as I go in to get, updates for these shots and stuff. So, we'll see. It just is, I'm a real human being with like real fears. And like I said, I'm never gonna be a stoic, like, and what you gotta do is, I don't know, feel the grass and make sure you set up your third business to be an AI, passive income, hustle, blah, 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 kind of deal. That's not me. A lot of things aren't me. You know who is me? Me is me. I is me, I think, therefore I am. I think I am me, but me might be I. Anyway. All right, I've arrived at my girlfriend's little place of residency, and I shall be frickin' hanging out with her and stuff, and I'm very excited. I got some salmon I gotta cook up, and everything is good. Life is wonderful. You're wonderful. You right there. You're a pretty good person. At least I hope you are. If you aren't, I take it back. But until I see you again, peace out.